Ask someone with 10 million how they made their first million versus their second. The first story is long, painful, full of sacrifice and learning. The second story is almost boring. I just kept doing what was working. Why? Because the first million is about building the machine. The second million is the machine running. Most people never build the machine, they just work harder, hoping effort alone will compound. But effort doesn't compound. Systems compound. Psychology compounds. Networks compound. The first million forces you to build all three or you don't make it. The second million is just activating what you built. So the real question isn't how do I make a million faster? The question is, am I building the infrastructure during my first million that makes the second inevitable? Because if you're not, you're just running faster on the same treadmill. Look, I need to be straight with you from the beginning. You're either grinding toward your first million and wondering if the effort is worth it, or you've hit your first million and you're confused why momentum hasn't accelerated like everyone said it would. You're still working just as hard, maybe harder, but growth feels linear, not exponential. And the pain you're feeling right now, it's the gap between the promise, wealth compounds, gets easier, accelerates, and your reality, still grinding, still stressed, still trading time for money. You don't understand what's supposed to change psychologically and strategically after the first million. So you keep applying first million thinking to second million problems. And that's why you're stuck. What you're about to receive is a complete breakdown of why the second million comes faster. Not through magic, not through luck, but through specific psychological shifts, strategic pivots, and infrastructure you build during the first million that creates acceleration after. You're going to understand what compounds besides money: skills, networks, systems, psychology, and why most people never activate these multipliers because they don't know they exist. You're going to see the exact mindset transition required from scarcity-based accumulation to abundance-based deployment. And you're going to walk away knowing whether you're currently building toward exponential wealth or just running faster on a linear treadmill. And here's what makes this different from every Make Your Second Million Faster video you've watched. Every other video talks about investing returns and compound interest formulas. I'm talking about psychological and strategic infrastructure that makes everything else possible. The myth is that wealth accelerates automatically once you have capital. The truth is, wealth accelerates when capital meets evolved psychology, strategic systems, and expanded capability. And most people have capital without the other three, which is why they plateau. This isn't about working less or getting lucky. It's about understanding that the first million is building the machine, and the second million is the machine running. If you don't know what machine to build, you'll hit a million and still be trading time for money, just with a bigger bank account. So let me tell you a story. Let me tell you about two traders who both hit their first million in the same year. Same skill level, same starting point, same hard work. Let's call them Trader A and Trader B. Trader A, he celebrates hitting that first million, takes a week off, tells his family, feels amazing. Then he immediately returns to exactly what he was doing before. Same strategy, same time commitment, same protective mindset. He made a million doing X, so he keeps doing X. Makes perfect sense, right? If it's not broken, don't fix it. 5 years later, Trader A has $1.4 million, slow, linear growth. And he's frustrated because he's working just as hard, putting in the same hours, executing the same strategy, but the acceleration everyone promised never came. He thought the compound interest would kick in. He thought once you had a million, things got easier. But they didn't. He's still grinding, still stressed about every drawdown, still feeling like he's working too hard for too little progress. Trader B, she hits a million and does something completely different. She takes 3 months off, not to celebrate, but to audit. She sits down with a journal and asks herself hard questions. What skills did I build getting here? What systems worked? What relationships actually matter? What was I doing that doesn't scale? What got me here that won't get me there? And she realizes something crucial. The hustle that built the first million trading actively every single day, managing every position herself, staying glued to the screen, can't build the second. It's time-bound. There are only so many hours in a day. She's hit the ceiling of what direct effort can produce. So she pivots. She hires a junior trader, someone who can manage routine positions according to her proven rules. She builds automated systems for entries and exits on her highest probability setups. Things that used to require her constant attention now run without her. And this frees up her time. She's spending 50% less time executing trades and 50% more time on higher value activities. Optimizing her edge, networking with other professionals, learning new strategies, exploring different markets. The machine she built is running while she's building the next machine. 2 years later, she's at $3 million. Not because she worked harder, because she worked on different things. She understood something Trader A never grasped. The first million proves you can play the game. The second million is won by changing the game you're playing. Trader A never made that shift. He's still playing the first million game 5 years later, wondering why it's not producing second million results. He has capital but no machine. Trader B built a machine, and now the machine is producing while she's building the next level. Let me give you another way to see this. Building wealth is like rolling a snowball down a mountain. At the top, when you first start, you're forming the snowball by hand. Slow, hard. Every addition requires effort. You pack the snow, shape it, make it solid. The snowball is small, so it doesn't gather momentum. It doesn't pick up snow on its own. This is the first 100,000, the first 500,000, even the first million. You're building by hand, pure effort, pure discipline. Every dollar feels like lifting a weight. But if you keep rolling, if you don't give up, something magical happens. The snowball gets big enough that it starts collecting snow on its own. Gravity helps, surface area increases, momentum builds. Suddenly, you're not adding snow by hand anymore. The snowball is growing itself. You're just steering, making sure it doesn't hit a tree or roll off a cliff. This is the second million. Same mountain, same snow, different physics. The snowball has reached critical mass. But here's what people miss. There's a critical mass point where the snowball becomes self-sustaining. If you stop too early, before you reach critical mass, the snowball stops growing. It just sits there, static. If you don't learn to steer once it's rolling, it crashes into something and breaks apart. Most people either quit before critical mass, they never hit that first million, or they don't know how to steer once momentum builds. They hit the first million but can't leverage it, can't multiply it, can't protect it while it grows. The second million comes fast when you understand your job changes. From building the snowball to steering it. Different skill, different mindset, different activities. Most people never make the transition. They keep trying to build by hand even when the snowball is big enough to grow itself. Or they take their hands off completely and watch it crash. Neither works. So, what actually changes between the first and second million? What are the invisible shifts that create exponential acceleration? And how do you activate them intentionally instead of hoping they happen by accident? Let me break this down for you. First shift, capital multiplication versus capital accumulation. The first million is about accumulation. Earn, save, protect, repeat. Every dollar feels precious because you're building from nothing. This creates what I call accumulation psychology. Defensive, protective, risk-averse. And it works. It gets you to a million. But accumulation psychology has a ceiling. Why? Because you can only accumulate as fast as you can earn, and you can only earn as fast as your time allows. You hit a physical limit. There are only 24 hours in a day. The second million requires multiplication psychology. Deploy capital to create returns that exceed what you can earn through direct effort. A $1 million account returning 20% annually generates $200,000 with zero additional time investment. That's multiplication. That's leverage. That's the machine running. But multiplication requires risk, and accumulation psychology can't tolerate risk. So people hit a million and they freeze. They accumulated successfully, proved they could do it, and then they stopped multiplying because multiplication feels dangerous to their accumulation-wired brain. The shift you must make, understanding that protecting your first million with accumulation thinking guarantees you'll never have a second. The capital must work. It must be deployed. You must transition from how do I save more to how do I deploy this strategically to generate returns I couldn't generate through effort alone. This isn't reckless. This isn't gambling. It's strategic deployment. But it requires a complete psychological reframe that most people never make. They stay in accumulation mode forever, protecting their million and wondering why it never becomes two. Second shift, the leverage awakening. The first million is built with your time. You trade hours for dollars, directly or indirectly. You're the one executing trades, making decisions, doing the work. Limited hours equals limited income. This is linear. There's a cap. The second million is built with leverage. Other people's time, employees, systems, automation, other people's money, investors, debt used intelligently. Other people's expertise, partnerships, networks, collaborations. Leverage is exponential. 1 hour of your time can control 10, 100, 1,000 hours of leverage. But leverage requires trust, delegation, and loss of control, all terrifying to the mindset that built the first million through total control and self-reliance. You did everything yourself. You trusted no one. That's how you survived. That's how you made it. But that's also why you can't scale past it. The wealthy realize you can't build exponential wealth alone. You must become someone who can identify good leverage, evaluate it clearly, and activate it without needing to control every detail. Most millionaires never make this leap. They stay in control, they stay small, and they wonder why growth plateaued. Because they won't let go. They won't build the machine. They insist on being the machine. Third shift, the network effect inflection. Your first million is built mostly alone. Your effort, your skill, your time, your decisions. Maybe you had some help, some mentors, some friends. But fundamentally, you did it. Your second million is built through networks. Who you know introduces opportunities you'd never find alone. Capital opportunities that you couldn't access by yourself. Partnership opportunities where 1 + 1 = 5. Strategic insights that save you years of trial and error. The network effect compounds wealth faster than anything else, but it only activates at critical mass. When you have nothing, your network can't help much. What are they going to do? You have no capital to deploy, no track record to leverage, nothing to offer in a partnership. But when you have capability plus capital, your network becomes a wealth multiplier. People want to partner with you. Opportunities flow to you instead of you chasing them. Your reputation attracts resources. But this only works if you built relationships during the first million without extracting value. If you network transactionally, what can you do for me? Gimme, 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 people remember that. And when you have resources, they don't trust you. Most people network wrong. They try to extract before they contribute. The wealthy network generously during the hard times, helping people with no expectation of return, and the returns come automatically during the abundant times. Your network becomes a force multiplier, but only if it's built on genuine relationships, not transactions. Fourth shift, the psychology capital compound loop. This is the big one. The first million builds psychological capability, risk management under pressure, emotional regulation when you're losing, patience when nothing's working, discipline to follow your system when your emotions scream otherwise, resilience to get back up after you get knocked down. This isn't a side benefit. This is the primary asset. Because psychological capability determines how much capital you can manage without self-destructing. A psychologically unprepared person with $1 million loses it. We see it all the time. Lottery winners, inheritance, lucky break, they blow it because they don't have the psychological infrastructure to hold that much weight. A psychologically prepared person with $1 million multiplies it. Why? Because they built the capability first. The million is just confirmation of the capability. The second million comes fast because you now have capital and capability. The two compound together. Capital without capability stagnates, or evaporates. You're not ready for it, so you protect it to death or lose it through bad decisions. Capability without capital grinds slowly. You have the skills but not the resources to deploy them at scale. But capital plus capability equals exponential growth. The two multiply each other. But most people only focus on accumulating capital. They completely ignore building capability. So they hit 1 million in plateau because they have fuel without an engine. The second 1 million requires both firing simultaneously. Okay, so you understand the principles now. Multiplication versus accumulation, leverage awakening, network effects, psychology, capital compound loop. But how do you actually activate these? What can you do right now to ensure your second 1 million comes shockingly fast instead of painfully slow or never? Practice 1, the multiplication audit. Right now, regardless of where you are financially, whether you're at 50,000 or 500,000 or already past 1 million, audit your income sources. What percentage comes from direct effort, you trading time for money? What percentage comes from multiplication, capital working, systems running, leverage deployed? If it's 100% direct effort, you're on a linear path. You will hit a ceiling. Your goal, starting today, shift 10% of your effort from direct earning to building multiplication infrastructure. This could be building a trading system that executes without you, rules-based, automated, or semi-automated. This could be hiring someone to handle routine tasks so you can focus on high-value activities. This could be creating content or intellectual property that generates passive attention and opportunities. This could be investing in assets that return cash flow without your active involvement. Start small. You don't need to shift everything overnight, but start. The second 1 million comes fast when multiplication is already running before you hit the first 1 million. Don't wait. Start building the machine now. Practice 2, the leverage inventory. Make a list of every area where you're currently doing everything yourself. Trading execution, research, administration, bookkeeping, networking, content creation, whatever. Now ask yourself honestly, which of these could be leveraged through systems, people, or automation? Pick one, just one. Build leverage there. If you're doing manual trade entry and it's taking hours, build an automation system or hire someone to execute while you focus on strategy. If you're spending hours on research, hire a research assistant or subscribe to institutional quality services. If you're managing your own books and taxes, hire a bookkeeper and CPA. Each small leverage point frees time for higher value activities. The compound effect of multiple small leverages creates exponential capacity. You don't need to delegate everything at once. Start with one, master it, make sure it works, add another. Within a year, you'll have 5 to 10 leverage points running, multiplying your capacity exponentially. You'll look back and realize you're accomplishing 5 times what you used to while working half the hours. That's leverage. That's the machine running. Practice 3, the generous networking protocol. Wealth flows through relationships, but only authentic ones built on trust and mutual respect. Starting today, reach out to one person per week with zero agenda. Not to ask for anything, not to pitch yourself, not to extract value, just to add value. Share an insight they'd appreciate. Make an introduction that helps them. Acknowledge something they did well. Send an article relevant to their interests. No expectation of return, just genuine contribution. Do this for 52 weeks. That's 52 deposits in 52 different relationships. Some won't respond. That's fine. Some will. The ones that do become your network, not because you extracted from them, but because you contributed to them. And when you have resources later, when you hit that first 1 million and you're looking to deploy it, opportunities will flow to you through these relationships. Not because you manipulated anyone, but because you built trust long before you needed anything. This isn't manipulation. This is understanding that wealth is collaborative, and collaboration requires trust built through generosity long before you need anything. And that's why your second 1 million comes shockingly fast. Not because money magically compounds on its own, not because you suddenly get lucky, But because you've built psychological capability, strategic leverage, multiplication systems, and authentic networks during the brutal first million climb, and all of that infrastructure, once it's in place, creates exponential acceleration that feels shocking compared to the linear grind of the first million. Let me bring this home for you. You came here wondering why the second million supposedly comes faster than the first, and whether that promise is real or just inspiration porn, just something people say to keep you grinding. And what I've shown you is that it's absolutely real, but not for the reasons most people think. It's not automatic. It's not about compound interest on cash sitting in an account. It's about compound interest on capability, leverage, systems, networks, and psychology that you build during the first million that creates exponential acceleration after. You learned through stories. Two traders, same starting point, same first million, completely different outcomes 5 years later. Why? Because one kept playing the first million game while the other graduated to the second million game. One stayed in accumulation mode, the other shifted to multiplication mode. And the snowball metaphor showing you that wealth building physics change at critical mass. From manual effort where you're packing snow by hand to self-sustaining momentum where the snowball grows itself and you're just steering. You learned 4 core principles. Multiplication psychology must replace accumulation psychology or you'll protect yourself into stagnation. Leverage awakening where you stop doing everything yourself and start building systems and teams. Network effects that activate at critical mass when you have capability plus capital plus authentic relationships. And the psychology capital compound loop where capability and capital multiply each other exponentially when they're both present. And you received 3 practices you can start today. The multiplication audit to shift 10% of your effort from direct earning to building systems. The leverage inventory to identify and activate one leverage point at a time, and the generous networking protocol to build authentic relationships through contribution rather than extraction. Here's what I want you to carry with you. My first million is not my destination, it's my education. Every dollar I earn is teaching me skills, systems, and psychology that will make the second million inevitable. I'm not just accumulating capital, I'm building capability. I'm not protecting what I have, I'm deploying it strategically. I'm not working harder, I'm building leverage. I'm not networking to extract, I'm contributing to build trust. The second million isn't luck. It's the natural result of infrastructure I'm building today. I don't need to see it yet to know it's coming. I just need to keep building the machine. And when the time is right, the machine will run faster than I can imagine. That's your North Star. The second million comes fast not because you'll be different then, but because you're building differently now. You're not grinding for a number. You're constructing an engine. And engines, once built, run exponentially. The hard part is the construction. The easy part is watching it run. But you can't skip the construction phase. And you can't stay in construction mode once it's time to let the engine run. If this reframe landed, if you see your current grind not as punishment but as construction of something that will compound later, tell me in the comments where you are in the journey. Are you building toward your first million? Have you hit it and are now figuring out the pivot? Are you stuck in accumulation mode when you need to shift to multiplication? Your story helps others see the map. When you share where you are, someone else sees themselves and knows they're not alone. Knows that the confusion they're feeling is normal. Knows that the struggle has a purpose. And if you want more of this, frameworks for every stage of wealth building, psychology that most people learn too late, honest talk about the transitions nobody warns you about, subscribe, because this channel isn't about get-rich-quick hype. It's not about promising you easy money or shortcuts. It's about understanding the real mechanics of exponential wealth so you can build it intentionally instead of hoping it happens accidentally. So you can see where you are, where you're going, and what needs to be built to get there. Your second million is already being built. You just might not see it yet. Every skill you're developing right now, every relationship you're nurturing, every system you're testing, every mistake you're learning from, it's all compound interest on future wealth. Trust the process, build the machine, and when it's ready, it will run faster than you ever thought possible. See you in the next one.